Bengals end up taking down the Jaguars. It's at home. The Bengals somehow have gotten through their rut of starting season slow, and they are now 2-0. Jake Browning comes in for the majority of this game and wins it for Cincinnati. But the big overarching storyline here is this. Joe Burrow is injured. He's going to undergo turf toe surgery. He's expected to miss the next 3 months. Listen, let's call it what it is. He's out for the season.
Right.
Because they're hoping that he can come back towards the end of December, is that 3-month time span, mid to late December. And then at that point, who knows if you're even contention for the playoffs. We can talk about if Browning can help them be there. I don't think the defense is good enough for that. But to Browning's credit, he's going to have some really good receivers and targets to throw the ball to. So they might have a fighter's chance. But even then, you're hoping that he can be back in 3 months. You're one step out of bed to go take a leak away from tweaking something, and you're out for 4 months instead, or 3.5 months, or whatever. Like, you're just hoping and clinging on to that end of December, which is essentially the end of the season. So he's pretty much out for the year. And it feels like it's wraps for the Bengals. The bigger problem is now this is the third time in his career that Joe Burrow has this significant of an injury. In 2020, his rookie year, torn ACL, MCL, PCL, meniscus, blew out his knee, missed the final 6 games of the season. In 2023, of course, the right wrist injury, he missed the final 7 games of the season. And now in 2025, turf toe, which, by the way, is the most disgustingly undernamed injury in football. Like, it's a serious ligament injury that's incredibly painful. I've never had it, but if you read up on it, it's not fun. But
no, you can't
hearing turf toe sounds so elementary, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But the turf toe, he's going to need surgery. He's going to be out for the next 3 months. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow is now in that Andrew Luck conversation of can't stay healthy and can't stay on the field.
So Andrew Luck retired after his 6th NFL, right before his 7th NFL season was about to start. This is Joe Burrow's 6th season in the NFL, and now it's been cut short again. And still, through 6 seasons, he's been sacked 27 more times than Luck was in his 6 years. I think it was Adam Schefter who tweeted that his offensive line has never ranked above the bottom quartile in pass block win rate in his career. That's insane. And the Bengals have never gone out of their way to try and remedy that. Like, I know they made a move for Orlando Brown, but that was bad. They haven't spent a super high draft pick on it, unless you count Jonah Jackson, who's like no longer on the team. Bad. It's brutal, man. Like, it just drives me insane because the Bengals pour all this money into Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and none of it into protecting the franchise. And again, it's just going to keep biting them. I will say, it's not like he was playing well this season. Like, so.
But look what he did last year.
That's right. But let me just say, I have it pulled up right now. Here are the only quarterbacks that have a worse EPA per play this season than Joe Burrow. This list kind of hurts me, okay? J.J. McCarthy, Cam Ward, Joe Flacco, Tua, Geno, Caleb, and Jaden Daniels. Like, so guys like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Spencer Rattler, Justin Fields have had better starts to their seasons. Now, granted, it's just 2 weeks.
Games.
I know, but my point here isn't that the season was a lost cause. If anything, this is a point that the season might not be lost in Cincinnati because you mentioned Browning has got guys to throw to. This is like year 3 or 4 for him in the system. We've seen him come in and he's been above 500 as a starter in his career in Cincinnati in 23 when Burrow went down with the wrist injury. Maybe all is not lost for Cincinnati. If they can stay afloat in the AFC wildcard race with Browning, maybe Burrow does come back in mid-December and helps them try and get a playoff spot. I don't know how smart that is. But my point there was not that Burrow sucks. Obviously, Burrow does not suck. The point is that they might be fine with Jake Browning. I think that they were very lucky to win that game against Jacksonville. Brian Thomas a huge drop on 4th down, and then I think an awful pass interference call on Travis Hunter on the 4th and game, essentially, for the Bengals to extend that drive where they eventually win the game. It's just like, that was a game of who wanted to lose it more. But if Browning comes in and throws 3 picks and still wins, maybe, just maybe, they're fine.
That was my next point. He does go 21 of 32 with 2 touchdowns, 241 yards. He did throw 3 picks.
Yes.
So that's food for thought, no question. I don't see a world where we were talking about Cincinnati. I was higher on Cincinnati than you were, but we were talking about Cincinnati because of the defensive problems, barely getting into the playoffs as it was. Now you take Joe Burrow out. I think Cincinnati's not winning more than 8 games without Joe Burrow. Right. That's not even maybe they can tread water. Maybe they can tread water. But the division's hard. You got the Ravens that you got to play twice. You know what Cleveland does to them. They barely beat Cleveland last week, so that's a win. And then Pittsburgh's not bad. Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, it feels like a 2023 redux, honestly. And I don't think they're a playoff team like with Browning. I hardly thought they were a playoff team with Burrow. More than anything, man, this just sucks. Like, it sucks for everybody involved.